Mr. Glenn was under investigation as a suspect in 4 holdups, 4 different banks in Minnesota. One April 6th, one June 29th, one on or about August 14th or 15th, and the most recent one September 21st of this year in Medford, Minnesota.
At 1:20 this morning, police called Glenn, telling him they had a search warrant. They ordered him outside, but he refused. Nearly 7 hours later, police say Glenn came out of the house.
At 8:08 a.m., the suspect came from his residence with a firearm, refused officers' commands to drop the firearm. Suspect was shot and pronounced dead on arrival at the Itasca Medical Center in Grand Rapids.
Anita Hocking had just put her kids on the school bus.
And about 5 minutes after the bus left, we heard the first shot. And first we heard him yell, "Halt." Then we heard the shot, and my husband and I just hit the floor in the house. And then it was just one shot after another. It was unreal.
This afternoon, bloodstains remain on the lawn where Glenn was shot. He was rushed to the Itasca County Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Greg John Glenn's stepbrother crouches at the spot where his brother was shot and killed yesterday. The bloodstains remain on the grass even today. Davis has come to pick up his stepbrother's belongings, saying he can't believe a man he thought of as nature-loving and gentle is dead.
Shock, disbelief, but now today it's true.
But Davis knew his stepbrother had a dark side, and in a conversation Sunday, Greg John Glenn told him he feared the 3 strikes and you're outlaw. Glenn had 2 strikes against him. A 3rd conviction for recent bank robberies would have meant life in prison. And that's something, Davis says, his stepbrother was unwilling to accept. Meanwhile, the FBI was back here at the Hillside Apartments this morning questioning residents about who Greg John Glenn had been associating with the past several weeks. They're hoping to find out more about a possible second suspect from this month's bank robbery in Medford.
We're not at liberty right now to discuss where we think the person or persons involved are, but our investigation is centering in this area at this time.
Several police officers involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative leave. That is a matter of policy. Sheriff Pat Maduri says this can be a very emotional time for the officers involved.
We're trained for situations like this. Officers hope they never have to go through a situation like this. Unfortunately, it does happen, and we want to make sure that they're all right.
And surprisingly, even Bruce Davis, the day after his stepbrother was shot and killed, says he understands what police officers are going through.
No, it's got to be pretty tough on them. I mean, that's not what a guy wants to go home and tell his kids what all in a day of work's all about.
Davis says he'd even be willing to talk to any of the officers involved if they were having a hard time coping with the shooting. In Grand Rapids, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News.
The kids love it. They've been at our door for the last 2 weeks. We basically have to go out and clean the glass. They're anxious to get in here and see the show.
Okay, we're done. Great. Thank you very much.
The Duluth City Council approved the angle parking idea last month. Today, city officials gathered to try and make the plan work. They tried a number of things, including an idea for reverse parking. Didn't go over too well.
Going to have to practice that maneuver. It's not a real familiar maneuver. Yeah.
On a more practical note, the DTA needs to move 40-foot-long buses around angle park traffic, providing a challenge for city engineers.
We're having some difficulty in the buses getting around the end of those angle park vehicles and still staying within the travel lane and not crossing the center line of Superior Street.
That puts DTA Director Dennis Jensen in a bit of a spot. His company has to get in and out of downtown and stay on its schedules. This morning was spent deciding where bus stops end and angle parking begins.
It is an issue with us because it's a little easier right now. There's not any traffic on the street, but if you can project forward a little bit, there'll be cars parked on the other side of the street and only 2 lanes of traffic. So it is a problem for us.
The bugs are still being ironed out, but the fact remains downtown business owners are thrilled by the idea.
I am very excited about it. I think it's the best thing that's happened to downtown in the years that I've been down here, and it couldn't have happened until the freeway was through, so it wasn't until the last few years it could have, but it's the time is now.
Just an hour after the stripes were laid down on the street, they were pulled back up, but they'll be painted on for real before the snow flies.
Crowds of people gathered around nearby TVs and radios in the Northland to hear the much-anticipated verdict in what is being called the trial of the century. Just before the envelope was opened, a hush came over this anxious crowd gathered at the Kirby Student Center on the UMD campus. Once read, emotions were varied, even tears.
I think that the whole situation is really sad display of our legal system. I'm a criminology major at UMD, and I think it's just really sad.
I just can't believe that it's over and that just nobody's blamed for the murders.
And although we may never know who we can blame for the murders, some say there is hope that the trial will change the way crimes are prosecuted.
The way that the evidence was presented by the prosecution, I just felt that that's just the way that it was going to turn out. Guilt or innocence, I guess, we'll never know. OJ is the only one that's going to know that. And I think this is going to be a turning point for the legal system, hopefully, and it'll turn for the better.
I feel nauseated. I don't know why. I feel ill because we don't know who did it, and now we're never going to know who did it, so we've wasted a year on this case.
Callers on Talk Radio WDSM also lit up the phone lines as they expressed their opinions.
O.J. Simpson as basically a law-abiding citizen. This is a man who had a reputation, a provable reputation, as a cokehead, cocaine user, and a wife batterer.
Justice was not served. He was guilty. And if I was Mr. Goldman, I'd take a gun and shoot him.
Spending of the federal government. There is one area, however,
we can propose for medical.
Abolish the U.S. Department of Commerce, which means eliminating the Federal Economic Development Administration. And all you have to do is look around Duluth. And, however, that the Republican Congress has taken off limits to budget cuts, and that is the military budget. The increased spending for the B-2 bomber would, just for one B-2 bomber, fund all that they have cut in low-income. Dislocated Workers Program, $378 million. School to Work, $27 million cut. OSHA enforcement, a 33% cut, 48.
Careful, well, we're going to be shooting another launch.
Okay. We got
3, 2, 1, 0.
Wind got it.
That is so close, that one. That is so close. Hey, what do we
We just had a 2-liter pop bottle, and we had to use cardboard and duct tape and weights, and we just tried to put together a rocket that flew.
No, I'm going to use this Mrs. Lenneberg, did you beat him?
I'm sorry, what?
Can I say hi, Mom? I'm on TV.
Oh, Patricia! Which one's going first?
I'm like, okay, you can.
Let's pack up some kids. Okay, Amy, countdown. 5, hold it. Are we ready? Which one is...
It is one of the darkest days in Itasca County's history. The body of Deputy Robert Lawson is wheeled out on a stretcher, the victim of a single gunshot to the head. Lawson was killed execution style at this home in Pengilly. The veteran deputy came to the home to pick up a child, but it was a setup. As he walked in a back door, Audie Fox, a career criminal who'd had run-ins with Lawson before, was waiting for him. Fox, holding a .357, made Lawson lay down on the floor and asked him where he could find his estranged wife. Lawson wouldn't tell him. Lawson's son remembers.
And at that point in time, told him he was going to count to 3. Had my dad was helpless at that point. Audie, in my opinion, became my dad's judge, jury, and the executioner.
Wally Hirschbach worked with Beefy Lawson. They were close friends. He was in his garage when he heard the news.
Next thing I knew was his wife come running in the garage, and she said, "You got to help him, you got to help him." She said, "Something's happened to Beefy."
It was awful.
Judge John Spellacy was the chief judge at the time. He was in Walker when he heard.
Everybody knew that he was dead in all likelihood. Fox didn't let him out, didn't let anybody get in to get him for quite some time.
After several hours, Fox led an ambulance driver into the house to get the body. But it was hours before the siege ended, lasting well into the night. And then, in the darkness, police captured Audie Fox after he fell asleep. Inside, they found the Fox home an arsenal, racks of high-powered weapons, including assault rifles. But perhaps most chilling was the discovery of the shell casing used to kill Beefy Lawson. Fox had engraved the name Beefy on the side.
Audie Fox felt my father was a person that stood in between him and society in what he wanted to do to victimize society. So I see Audie not only killing my dad as a father, to me, he killed what he stood for, and that was a police officer.
Beefy Lawson grew up in Taconite, the youngest of 3 children. His outgoing personality and big smile made him a favorite among people he met. He was a family man with 7 children, from deer hunting with his boys to walking his daughter down the aisle at her wedding.
Now that he's gone, there's nobody to replace him. He was one of a kind in those ways.
The funeral was an emotional goodbye to the 51-year-old Lawson. Police officers traveling from around the state to pay their respects, and though Beefy Lawson was laid to rest, no one could rationalize the senseless tragedy.
A lot of grown men in tears, Bill. A lot of them.
The Lawson family thought they'd closed a chapter of this nightmare when Audie Fox was sentenced to life in prison. But Monday, Audie Fox will tell a parole board why he should get out. The Lawsons will be there to tell the board why he should not. Something Bob Lawson says has opened the old wounds.
My idea on it, Bill, is, unfortunately I was put in the position of being the son of a murder victim, and it's being a family member and all. There's a lot of things that I experience now that I would have never felt, except for this brutal act that was committed by, the guy who now is eligible for parole, Audie Fox.
He should have been sent to prison for life with absolutely no possibility of parole. I'm sure of that in my own mind. I have no doubt when I go back and look at the file.
Audie Fox was convicted of first-degree murder by a jury back in April of 1982. In May of that year, he was sentenced to life in prison. But now that Fox is up for what's called a lifer hearing, or parole, friends and family of Beefy Lawson are wondering whether that life sentence was actually for life.
To me, if he got life in prison, that's what he should get.
In fact, what this hearing means is that the family of Robert Lawson must go before the parole board Monday and testify, resurrecting the memories that 14 years ago they thought they'd put to rest.
I feel like the whole thing has been brought back before us. I have a lot of the same feelings that I had the day I went to hear the sad news that my dad was murdered.
Murdered execution style at the hands of Audie Fox. Fox made Lawson lie down on the floor, counted to 3, and shot him in the head. A brutal crime that Bob Lawson says should leave Fox without rights to a parole hearing.
I see the victim. I see what it does to the victims, the family. You know, why do we focus on Mr. Fox or one of these other people? What rights do they have?
But there are those who maintain that Audie Fox has rights and deserves this parole hearing.
Because if Audie Fox doesn't have any rights, neither do you and neither do I.
And that comes from an Iron Ranger. State Supreme Court Justice Esther Tomjanovich hails from Nashwauk, and she remembers very well the day Beefy Lawson was murdered. Defense attorney Robert Lucas agrees.
Because they're human beings. And human beings have rights and have dignity, and that's what this country is based on. Once we give that up, we might as well call it quits.
But many folks, especially families of the victims, say too much emphasis is placed these days on prisoners' rights.
The focus, I do believe, needs to be placed on the victims and what this murder has done to them and to society.
The question is, do we protect the rights of society's lowliest as a means of protecting the rights of all, or does protecting the rights of the lowliest mean that the rights of all get trampled on? In Itasca County, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News. By the time Audie Fox's parole or lifer hearing ends Monday in St. Cloud, there are 2 things that could happen. At best, for Fox, he could be released in 3 years. At worst, not even considered for another 10. As part of this lifer or parole hearing, the Minnesota Department of Corrections wants to know what the sentiment is here in Itasca County concerning Audie Fox. This office in Grand Rapids has received hundreds of letters over the past few months, every single one of them urging the parole board not to let Audie Fox out of prison. This file of letters is voluminous. People from all over northern Minnesota asking to keep Fox in prison. One of those letters was written by Judge John Spellacy.
I said that he's absolutely the worst criminal that Itasca County has ever spawned.
Spellacy goes on to say, I consider Audie Fox to be the most brazen, inhumane, cunning, and dangerous individual to have committed a crime while I've been judge in Itasca County. In my opinion, he will kill again within 6 months if released from prison. By Minnesota law, Audie Fox is eligible for release after serving 17 years. Minnesota law now allows first-degree murder convicts the possibility of parole after 30 years, but there are those who say even that's too lenient.
The people of this country are just plain fed up.
State Senator Bob Lassard has tried to initiate legislation calling for tougher jail sentences and even the death penalty.
And when they see repeat offenders get out time after time after time, and they get out of prison, or they don't have to post bail, and they get out, and these crimes are committed, I think that's the frustration that's being held not only in Minnesota, but throughout the country.
Meanwhile, at Monday's hearing, Beefy Lawson's son, Bob, will have a chance to address the parole board. He says he'll try to make them realize what Audie Fox did to him and his family.
My children have no grandfather. I mean, my dad he couldn't share the time with his grandchildren. I mean, it's just, those things hurt.
But what is the chance that Audie Fox will be released? According to this letter from the Department of Adult Release, not good. The letter reads, it is important to note that most inmates serving life sentences are not granted parole at their minimum eligibility and are usually continued for further review. But for the Lawson family, it's about more than just the possibility of Audie Fox getting out of prison. For them, there's pain every time they have to go to a parole hearing, something they never thought they'd have to do when Audie Fox was sentenced to life in prison. In Itasca County, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News.
It apparently began as a routine accident assist call, but when officers arrived on the scene, they found a fatal shooting. Conservation Warden John Krull of Superior fatally shot a Superior man after that man attacked him with Krull's own baton.
We now know that the DNR agent has received broken bones to his face, a broken nose, that his eye was actually popped out of the socket. He has numerous lacerations, and we're looking at probably a special surgery on the eye sometime this coming week to repair that damage. We also know that these injuries were suffered prior to the wardens making a decision to use deadly force.
Police say Krull was patrolling the municipal forest for bow hunting violations when he saw a blue Pontiac weaving near 28th and Elmira. As he called for backup, the car headed into the ditch. Police say Krull went up to investigate and was attacked by 29-year-old Todd Berg, prompting the shooting. Krull did not feel up to speaking with Channel 6 News, but investigators say he was acting within his authority.
Conservation wardens are full-time law enforcement officers, and they carry weapons just like any other law enforcement or police officer would do for self-defense.
Police say a DNR officer does have the authority to make traffic stops, enforce public safety laws, and use deadly weapons when necessary.
We have expanded authority, which gives us authority to take action on crimes in our presence and to take actions on non-crimes after we have contacted the government agency that has jurisdiction.
Krull shot Berg in the hip and chest. Police say they've confirmed Berg had been drinking. He also has a prior history of criminal activity. A second man in the car has turned himself in, but police won't say if he will be charged. The DNR and the Superior Police Department are continuing to investigate. Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
The Duluth Mayor's race is in the home stretch, and instead of heading their horses toward the finish line, the jockeys are beating each other as the race comes to a close. Mayor Gary Doty and challenger Herb Bergson took some heavy shots today, and the Marquis of Queensberry rules weren't in effect.
I'm disturbed by the tone that this campaign has been in the last couple of weeks by my opponent. I've listened to him on TV and on the radio discrediting me. I've heard him at news conferences screaming and hollering.
Goodness, it sounds like somebody got up in the wrong bed side of the bed this morning.
Today, Doty focused his attention on Bergson's record in Superior, but the challenger responded by claiming the mayor was playing fast and loose with the facts.
And I want to talk about what's happened in Duluth and what's happened in Superior, and they almost mirror each other. One going one way and one going the other.
Maybe you ought to mention my vetoes of the budget. And maybe you ought to stop distorting all these things and tell the whole story. But then again, the story wouldn't sound as good if you told the whole story, would it?
But at the same time, both men claim innocence on the parts of their own campaigns. Bergson says Doty is hit below the belt, while the mayor says he's above the fray.
Oh, I don't take the offensive. I think it's amusing that Mr. Doty has said that attacking in his manner isn't dirty or underhanded.
They're not bombshells as per se as some people do, and I think that's dirty. That's negative stuff that we don't want to get involved in.
With only 2 weeks left in the campaign, both men say they'd like to bring their horse across the line without having to fend off his opponent with one hand off the reins. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
How will you do this? And do you plan to use existing facilities, for example, schools, community centers, etc.?
Fire investigators say the warehouse destroyed by fire this week was likely caused by a homeless person. The former Food Services of America warehouse had become a common shelter for homeless people. Fire officials say situations like this one can be dangerous.
Well, it's a fire hazard. Most of the homeless people don't want to start a fire, but they're trying to warm themselves, so they're cooking in a dangerous way, and fires do start. It's a concern for us, too, because often we're going into vacant buildings, and we don't know there's people in there, and they're putting themselves at risk by doing that.
No one doubts that starting a fire in an abandoned building is a fire hazard, but one homeless person we talked to says that on a cold night in Duluth, sometimes homeless people have no alternative.
Well, here in Duluth, especially as cold as it is during the winter months, a person could actually freeze to death. If they don't keep the fire really going high, you could find them the following morning and they wouldn't be alive.
One place homeless people can come is here to the Union Gospel Mission. Though with only 20 rooms, space fills up fast. Durbin Keeney's advice for the homeless: seek shelter through them or even through the police.
Well, obviously get to us as quickly as they can. Don't be afraid that, the police department's not there to harm you. We work closely with them. We put blankets in the back of police vehicles for folks. We've got our blanket drive coming up next week. So, all these things are there to try to be there, and there's resources, and we're here. We're open every day, and that's why we're here to help people.
In Duluth, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News. The $10 million will be used for improvements to the Lake Superior paper plant next year. This is over and above more than $7 million we told you about earlier in the month. That money is being used for improvements for the rest of this year. Spokesman Jack Lavoie says the money will be used to tweak the current operation, making more paper of a better quality in less time.
I think that the level of investment that we've seen, and you have to remember that this is only our 118th day as a member of the Consolidated Papers family, reflects the high level of confidence that the board of directors and our new owners have in our operation.
The plant produces a type of paper called super calendar paper. It's a high-quality paper that you might find in your Sunday newspaper in the form of colored advertising supplements. The LSPI plant began in the mid-'80s as a joint venture of Minnesota Power. In May of this year, Consolidated Paper of Wisconsin Rapids purchased the operation. One problem running a paper mill is high costs of the constantly changing technology, something Lavoie says the new owner is prepared to meet.
We have an owner here now that has a strong international reputation as a company that invests in its businesses, that grows its businesses, and grows its people for the future.
LSPI employs about 362 people full-time. Lavoie says no new jobs will be added as a result of the investment, but he says with this new investment, the current jobs are more secure. In Duluth, Bill Lund, Channel 6 News.
Christmas City, wonderful city, all dressed up in snow and mistletoe. Christmas City, wonderful city, come this Christmas to the Christmas City I'll go. Up on hilltops, pick on an icicle, chew it while you slide the fun below. Down in Midtown, people are icicle, come this Christmas to the Christmas City I'll go. I hear bells ringing, ding dong, ding dong, ding.
This is yours.
concern also is we want to get them down as quick as possible. You know, there's a process that has to be followed, and we're moving as rapidly as we can. You know, we acquired a total of 70 properties here beginning when this project began.
His neck smells like ammonia. Apparently she has a history of seizure.
Can you hear me, hon?
What happened?
In the heart-racing TV drama ER, a team of adrenaline-pumped physicians treat the patient with a team of specialists.
Lacerations, a fight wound usually isn't an emergency.
But inside a pet ER, the sound of a cat's heartbeat is only heard by two specialists. Doctors of veterinary medicine do it all, and usually with a lot of distractions. With animals, it can be difficult to determine the injury. They can't tell the vets what's wrong with them. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for doctors to pinpoint the problem, and most pet owners don't understand why.
They want an answer now. And yet you can't give them an answer now, like that cat in the back. You just have to wait it out and do your thing. And people tend to get very impatient about their animals as to how fast they want a diagnosis.
It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Most of the animals here have typical problems. But after 5 o'clock, everything will change inside the pet ER. Tonight, Dr. Jeff Ladd is the only vet in the clinic. He was paged with a call that Bowser here was struck by a car in busy traffic. The shock is causing Bowser's legs to shake and his breathing to slow down. He'll survive the accident, but it's hard on everybody watching him suffer.
Some days rip your heart out. Yeah, it's real difficult. You have to go home and talk about it and get it out of your system.
Who do you talk about it with, or what makes you feel better?
My wife, my dog. He usually comes to work with me.
The emotional and physical demands placed on vets can take its toll. The doctors of veterinary medicine spend their day caring for our sick family pets. For vets, separating personal from professional isn't as easy as we may think.
Sometimes you have to wait and talk to somebody days later, like on emergency call on Friday night. You may not be able to get it out of your system until Monday or Tuesday.
Every fight to save a life or battle to protect our pets from illness can be exhausting for vets, but they say it's rewarding at the same time.
Well, I have a lot of respect for these animals. I won't tell you that I love every one of them, but I have a great deal of respect for them.
His neck smells like ammonia. Apparently she has a history of seizure.
Do you want to put your dog on the table?
Come on, buddy. Spend a day with Dr. Larry Anderson and you'll see a man who loves his job. In fact, he may love it too much. Last year, the stress of working inside a pet emergency room almost killed him.
Well, I started having trouble getting my breath. I was very nauseous. My arm actually began to, it's a hard descriptive feeling to describe, but it hurt. But he's had some problems with his eye before, right?
Yes. What Dr. Anderson had suffered was an acute angina heart attack. Today, he's down to working 2 days a week and is limited to routine calls. Dr. David Farron's heart attack is something he'll never forget.
Standing right where you're standing.
What happened that day?
Just, very intense chest pains and off to the emergency room.
A veterinarian who is on call may respond to an average of 40 calls that weekend. Combine that with the emotional stress of losing a pet, and you get a pretty good idea of what working inside a pet ER is like.
You have to expect the unexpected. You never know what's going to come in.
everything from a dog fight to hit by a car to a dog that's got into porcupine.
And you go through the deaths, you go through the illnesses, you go through the family traumas, and you find after a while that many times the emergencies probably are what are the hardest.
It's the ones that call you at 11 o'clock at night whose dog has been vomiting or had diarrhea and been sick for 7 days, and now they call at 11 o'clock at night, and they think that you should be here in 5 minutes after they've waited for 7 days. Those are the ones that you try and forget.
Working inside a pet emergency room isn't all about stress. There seems to be an unspoken language between animals and vets that is difficult to explain in words. And despite tough days, it's that same bond that makes vets want to go back to work and face a new day.
Oh, what is he doing over there with that camera?
I try to treat everyone's pet the way I would want mine to be treated if that was them.
It feels good when you can actually know that what you did really, really made a difference for sure. Sometimes things you do, you hope they made a difference. Sometimes you really know they made a difference. I mean, you can actually see it occur, and you know, it feels good.
In Duluth, Molly McMillan, Channel 6 News.
There's things missing from my mom's house, lots of things, and I'm missing a lot of money.
Joanna McDowell wasn't robbed. She just decided to have an estate sale. She brought in an estate sale company to take care of it for her.
They had references, and they were the only estate sale company that had some references.
The company did have references and letters of recommendation, but there were also complaints. Joanna says the company sold some items and didn't pay her for them. The estate sale company said Joanna didn't have much to sell.
The total sale was a small sale. There was no big furniture. There was nothing big. The sale was probably, it was under $2,000.
Joanna also complained the company didn't keep accurate records. After we started investigating, the company paid up.
Actually, you guys made it happen. I just pushed real hard and kept all my options open.
You can do an estate sale yourself. If you call in a professional, make sure they keep records and a detailed list of the items to be sold. Make sure you agree that the list is accurate before anything is sold. Chuck Whitlock for Channel 6 News.
Safely back in the warm Florida sunshine, Marion County firefighter Mauro Puccelli goes through just some of the dozens of dive tanks that helped him and 3 other dive buddies make history in Lake Superior.
It was incredible. It was cold. Oh man, one of my fondest memories of it is how cold it was. I froze my butt off. The water was 34 degrees.
Puccelli, shown here with Mike Z of Chicago on the left and Orlando's Terrence Teisel and Ken Furman on the right, served with Furman as support divers, carrying extra tanks so that Z and Teisel could descend all the way down, 530 feet down, to the wreck of the freighter Edmund Fitzgerald.
It took over 2 years in the making for the logistics. It took 6 minutes to get down and another 3 hours to get back up to decompress.
The Edmund Fitzgerald went down in a heavy storm back on November 10th, 1975, and earlier this year a submarine found the nearly intact wreckage and recovered the ship's bell. But the fact that humans made the dive and touched the hull has caused a lot of controversy in that area. One victim's daughter has been especially critical, saying the dive disturbed her father's underwater grave and was done for glory only. Puccelli says he and the others understand and respect those concerns.
Whenever we decided to do this dive, we made an agreement to keep it, as low profile as possible, because we knew that it was going to be a controversial dive.
Because of the depth and the mixture of oxygen and nitrogen they were breathing, Z and Teisel could only spend 6 minutes with the wreck. Even so, they became the first humans to touch the Fitzgerald's railing and in the process recorded the deepest free dive ever on a shipwreck.
We did it because we wanted to be the first people to actually go down on the wreck, to touch the wreck, and to say that it was that we were the first ones to do it.
Hello everybody. On this week's Pet segment, we have a beautiful kitten, and today Denise Rajala is joining me from the Douglas County Humane Society, and she brought a purring kitten. This kitten's been purring since it's arrived in the studio. And you said, how old is the kitten?
He's about 4 months old.
Okay. And also, he has some interesting markings you can show us.
Yeah, this kitten's part Manx. It's got the shorter tail. Just, I think, 2 out of the litter that were born that way.
Okay. And also, Denise was telling me they have tons of kittens down at the Douglas County shelter, less than a year old. And this kitten, very well behaved. A lot of them are all well behaved, and also very playful as he continues to purr away. So perfect kittens and cats to go pick up at the shelter you have there. And as we're getting now into the colder months, you can feel it outside already today. Do you have any tips you can give pet owners in general, and even people coming to pick up pets from your shelter?
Yeah, if they're outside, make sure they have plenty of warm shelter, lots of fresh water. Cats probably would like to come in.
Yes.
Barn cats, as long as they've got the hay, they should be okay, nice and warm. But just mainly keep them warm and give them plenty of water.
Okay, and then most people don't realize if your dog, a lot of people keep their dogs outside every day, and we've had weather, those rainy days of 35 and 40 degrees. Those dogs can get awfully cold and have trouble even in 35-degree weather. So now with this colder months on the way, you want to definitely take the appropriate precautions with your pets.
Right. We like to put straw in our dog houses to keep them dry and warm.
Okay, excellent tip. And even a flap over the doghouse door to keep those brutal wind chills from coming in there. What is the easy process for adopting a pet?
Just give us a call at the shelter. Our number's 398-6784, and we can give you directions out there. You come down and choose the pet that you want and fill out the paperwork and take it home.
Okay, that sounds like a good deal to me. Douglas County Humane Society, the place to go for your family's new pet.
We know toward the end that the vessel was a slowly sinking vessel because it had a list, and then that list increased substantially.
It's not real big, but it's a decent deer.
Sure. And that's where you find the down box. You get down next week. 19th, the next.
This weekend, we're expecting to see the greatest number of deer taken. This getting into the second week of season, they should be in the peak of their rut. We should be seeing quite a few.
What are you hearing from people this week that have gone out during the week?
I produce a lot more for the nurturers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it extends their season a couple of weeks.
Probably pretty cool. And you guys do that here, obviously.
The numbers are clear. According to state law, Grant School has too many minority students. The revelation comes at a time when the state is considering changing its desegregation laws. But officials from the Minnesota State Board of Education say that doesn't mean Grant will be allowed to slide through in violation of the law.
So we're continuing to talk about the development of the revised rule. But until that rule is revised, school districts will either have to comply or have to ask for a rule waiver from the state board.
However, officials also say that all they require for the short term is that the district has a plan in place to alleviate the problem.
Schools that are out of compliance right now are in fact being asked to either have a plan or to be in compliance with the rule.
Now that plan may be on the way. The district's desegregation committee will present recommendations tonight.
Well, the grad rule will be phased after that incrementally. Things will happen and be added to the basic requirements in the profile of learning in order.
Got appointed on Monday, so he said he would try and make it today, but
the preliminary work that indicates that the first sections were done in the 1880s indicates this may be the first parkway built in the state of Minnesota. It appears it may predate the parkway development in Minneapolis and St. Paul by as much as 3 or 4 or 5 years.
in the taxi, so.
Appreciate the chance of serving the people. To me, it was an honor, so thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Dahlberg. Okay, moving on. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Basic agreement. 1016 is a resolution authorizing amendment number 3.
Information you asked for relating to, if the number of people who wanted contract parking has been communicated to.
$1 to the basic agreement. 1016 is a resolution authorizing amendment number 3 to the 1992 Housing Authority.
I'm going to try to get the allocation of funds.
Energy assistance. Over 300,000 Minnesotans last year were served. 40% of the households had a head of the household who was working full-time. Working poor people. A third of the households were elderly people. Do we want to put elderly Minnesotans, senior citizens, in the position of heat but not eat?
That for us, this is that we take on this Gingrich effort to eliminate energy. It's not a party issue. It's a matter of what. And the Speaker of the House eliminates this program. Not stealth bombers, not subsidies to oil companies.
Because teens could be the target of drug testing, they all want their parents to stay away from their hair, right? Wrong. These students are just as divided over the issue as their parents are. Some of them insist it's more important to find a drug problem than protect their privacy.
I've seen many people who don't know they have a problem, and they deny they have a problem, and it can be life-threatening. You know, cocaine and heroin, those are serious addictions. And yes, I feel that parents should be able to take hair samples and test them to see if their kids are using drugs.
Others have mixed feelings, especially about secret testing.
Don't try and sneak and creep unless, the child have low grades, bad behavior in school. That's the only time where I feel that they should be able to, sneak into their child's room.
On the other hand, Willie Graves thinks parents worry too much about teen drug use.
I know some, friends myself, they do it, and, they cool, you know what I'm saying? It's better for parents to stop worrying about their kid and let them, grow up.
Possible warning signs of teen drug abuse include dropping grades, mood swings, a sudden change in friends, and theft to buy drugs. Of course, kids aren't the only ones subjected to hair testing for illegal drugs. Although we weren't allowed to interview them, employees at Blockbuster and hundreds of other companies are tested using this method. Do customers think they should be?
I think it's as fair as your analysis would be. It's no more of an invasion of privacy than the traditional method.
People are changing their lives every day for one reason or another, and to put another obstacle in their way is I don't think it's very American.
Scott Montgomery, NBC News.
Probably not. I'm hopeful that if the state decides to raise the speed limit, that it'll look at the situation again and realize that we do need additional troopers to effectively enforce the law.
Well, this for us is just another day, except we're just giving thanks like everybody else for the support of the community that makes this possible for us to do. You know, we're so very grateful.
Good afternoon. Here we are with Diane from the Friends of Animals at the Cloquet Animal Humane Society. And we have Felicia here, a nice little 10-week-old kitten. What type of kitten is Felicia?
She's a tabby. I mean, can you believe it? Look at this little girl. Someone threw her out.
Oh, no. So Felicia is ready for a home, been meowing and ready for someone to come pick her up.
She is an ideal pet.
Okay. As we get toward the holidays, as you can see, got the Christmas tree behind us. What is your advice on people trying to adopt pets?
Well, I tell you what, pets are wonderful. I would like to see every home with a pet in it. But you know what? Pets shouldn't be where they're not wanted. It's not a good idea to give an animal as a surprise present because you're talking a 10 to 15-year commitment, and if they're not really enthused about this is not going to be a good home for this animal. What we suggest is that if someone wants a pet, maybe you take them to the shelter, to the Humane Society, let them choose their own, and you can still purchase the animal for them, purchase the supplies, the bedding, collars, toys, dishes, things like that. The other thing we like to say is that, don't give an animal right on Christmas. Christmas is a busy, hectic time with a lot of celebration. It's very stressful for an animal. Either introduce them to a new home before Christmas or wait for a couple days after the celebration is over.
Okay, so some very good advice.
And the other thing we'd like to say is that, animals and children, personally, I think belong together. They make wonderful combination, but it should always be a family decision. Don't get an animal for the child and think that this child will be responsible. It just doesn't work that way. It needs to be a family decision and a family project.
So come on out, and if you're going to get the pet, you want to do it soon before the holiday madness, and instead of waiting till Christmas. But they're waiting for you right now in Cloquet, and on your screen here's the address and the phone number, and they'll be waiting for you, and they'll assist you in any way they can to help find these great pets some nice homes.
Aurora has their holiday. I can't say this. I laugh every time.
holiday here to stay here.
Right.
You know, overnight because everyone just went, oh my gosh. A festival that we tried to incorporate all of the ethnic celebrations that are going on up here and try to bring them into more of a regional focus, and perhaps get people to come up here and stay a little longer instead of just coming up for one of the festivals. Now, they now have 4 different full festivals to pick from. The communities themselves, when this bureau was started, it was the 2 new communities, which would be Fayette Township and Side Lake. That's probably the year, or the same time in '95, over the same period of last year, like our lodging receipts, which is our primary gauge, has grown about 12.5%. And we sort of were conservative and projected a 5% increase, so you can see that
Hayward High School. He was a 10th grader. He had plans. He had a future he was working on. Now he ain't working on nothing because he got shot.
There just isn't much folks can do in the bitter cold after tragedy strikes, but drive by and wonder why.
If anything like that would happen, I guess that's one of those things that he lets us experience, I think. I don't know. I don't have answers as to why.
A 17-year-old daughter who escaped the blaze was on the main floor talking on the telephone when the fire started at 12:30 a.m.
She was talking to a friend on the phone, and she noticed she could smell the smoke, and then she heard some crackling, and she told her friend on the phone that the house is on fire and this is for real, and she hung up. And she hollered upstairs to tell the kids to get out. The house is on fire, and at that time, the smoke was coming down the stairs, and she could not enter.
It was upstairs that firefighters later found the girl's 13-year-old sister under one bed. Her 10-year-old brother was found in another bedroom, and a 15-year-old brother was found in an upstairs hallway.
And I looked out the window, and it was a fire truck. And I noticed flames shooting out of the back of the house. And from there, it wasn't 10 minutes and the whole house was going up.
Hour and a half into the fire before we found 2 bodies right away, and then it was about an hour and a half we found the 3rd.
The children's mother had undergone foot surgery and was in Fargo at the time of the fire with her 19-year-old son. Chief Raby calls her a deeply religious woman. Raby says his wife was the children's teacher.
My wife had the kids in her challenge program, and they were, just super smart, real mischievous. She said they were just great kids.
Chief Raby says it appears the fire started in the main floor ceiling because of a faulty electrical connection.
The fire broke through the floor right at the stairway, blocked their exit.
From Bemidji, Minnesota, I'm Neil Carlson reporting for NBC News.
Should have it on every floor, yes, and now they're recommending 1 in every bedroom also. You can't have too many of them. They work. We know they work. We've got a 20-year history of them saving lives, and for some reason people still refuse to take the time to put them up.
The intense 11-hour standoff in Duluth Central Hillside Thursday resulted in fire and death. Today, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension processed the scene along with the St. Louis County Sheriff's Department and the Duluth Police. They were trying to piece together exactly what happened inside the barricaded home of 50-year-old James Farwell.
At some point, we decided that we had to call out our tactical response team, our SWAT team,
to secure the building. There had been some threats made. There was talks of weapons and burning the building down.
The standoff began in the morning as police responded to a threatening phone call complaint coming from Farwell's home at 11 East 6th Street. Police had a felony warrant for Farwell's arrest, and he had a history of run-ins with the law. Thursday's incident escalated as Farwell refused to come outside, threatening to shoot anyone and set his home ablaze.
The major fire started around 20 after 8 in a couple different places in the building. It was at that point we decided we had to go in and try and rescue Mr. Farwell from the building, and so our emergency response high-risk entry team entered the building.
As police moved in, some neighbors were told to leave, while others told Channel 6 News Today they are upset, having never been notified to what was happening on their street. The Nettleton school was letting out as the situation intensified, but about 60 children were inside for after-school activities. School officials say the children were never in danger and are pleased with how authorities handled the situation.
If our commanders felt there was any danger to the students or the school, they would have been notified at that time. It would be probably our number one priority, responding to a scene like this, is to make the people outside of the scene safe.
The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will continue to investigate the scene. Authorities say Farwell apparently strangled himself, bringing an end to the tense standoff. In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
Pour coffee and milk and what all. So.
And it goes from 1 o'clock?
Starts at 1 o'clock today and goes till 7:30. And hopefully we'll have a breather in there. Last year we started at 3 o'clock and we had all these people sitting around waiting for 3 o'clock to happen. So we thought, well, why not get people in here early? And a lot of folks like to make this their lunch and then get home before it's dark.
What is important to note is that many of these jobs are from various industries. It isn't just one corporation, so that reduces the risk. We have what they call diversification here. The Duluth area is greatly broadening its economic and industrial base. Although many of these companies are small, their potential for growth in many cases is significant. In out of these companies, you may have a major corporation down the line, and some of these companies already are flourishing in that direction. So again, it's encouraging to be involved in this type of program. It's a relatively new concept. I think we participated in this program many, many years ago, before my lifetime practically, but
on the television screen. A lot of speakers, counselors, I think we'll break this.
When we look at Duluth with an aging community of people that are worried about heating their homes and where the money's going to come from for that, and worried about paying the taxes and staying in their houses, I think that we better spend our money on other things.
I'm pointing to here. The area in red here was this proposed TIF plan amendment has applied to us. Okay. Appreciate it. We'll be happy.
And amends the TIF plans to include budgetary authority for phase 2 of the Bayfront development and to come.
The issue that's before you this evening is the ordinance amendment. This commission, and at one level it might seem kind of silly that a person would be speaking in the United States of America in a
This time of year, customers, especially gas heat customers, are expecting to see a jump in their gas billings if they're heating their homes. But in addition to that, now they can expect to see, depending on the size of the household, but anywhere from a $150 sewage bill to $250. again, that initial billing they'll just see in December for the 6 months. In January, it'll go down to roughly 1/6 of that amount.
Okay, and it will be on a monthly basis.
It was in really sad shape, that's a reason. Yep, but I loved it. No, we stopped in, I had a praise of Oz that I'm giving to a friend.
What's the matter, babe?
Can't go in a stranger's house.
What's the matter, little pumpkin?
Well,
I think not only is it the most spectacular tree that I've seen, but hands down it's probably one of the most spectacular trees in northern Wisconsin and northern Minnesota.
it's neat.
Paintings on mine, most of the big one.
And it's not running, then people get disappointed, but when...
Carl's a big guy, and he says, knocks on the door, he says, is the little girl's name Rachel? I says, yes. He says, oh, I can hear her.
We also had troubles with our getting substitute teachers. Our substitutes were calling in telling us they were sick, not to call them. We had to call high school staff that had called in sick to come in to make it through the day because we just didn't have enough people. Work, so it's not like we're going to lose too much time there.
Hi, I'm Steve Junton, and chairperson for Crime Stoppers of the Northland. We extend a warm holiday greeting and want to tell you what together we've accomplished over 2 years in operation. $160,000 in drugs and stolen property have been recovered, and 70 criminals have been arrested with help from information you have provided to Crime Stoppers. $6,500 in rewards have been paid out. Serving northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, Crime Stoppers is a grassroots organization made up of volunteers to help Northland law enforcement solve more crime. And serve notice that Northland communities do care, do get involved, and are places where criminals cannot operate at will. Crime Stoppers is funded solely by your tax-deductible contributions. The address for Crime Stoppers is 411 West 1st Street, Duluth, Minnesota, 55802. If you have any questions or would like to help, write us or call our TIPS information line at 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683. Thank you and have a peaceful and joyous holiday season.
This is an annual program. It's sponsored in part by the Duluth Parks and Recreation Department and the Chester Bowl Parents Association here at the park. And we've got 3 different levels of skiing ability for non-skiers, beginners, and intermediate.
those developers work very closely with neighbors and listen to a lot of concerns, and so they're going to protect the wetlands, provide the buffer, and I think that that will then, as a result, have to go to the voters in a special election. That would be my prediction at this point, but my predictions haven't always been correct.
Okay, that's all I need.
Thanks.
Well done.
Appreciate it.
I decided that it'd be nice to come back and check out all these great trails through all the Canadian provinces and the states that I've always read about in the magazines, so here I am.
What would you say to kids?
Tobacco in the United States, what a great drug it was and all the good things about tobacco. And even now,
A day like Martin Luther King Day
particular
is
plant or crop,
that differences can be celebrated
crossbreeds
rather than pointed out.
And that's what's happened now.
That's what today is all about.
Terminate
What I'd like you to
medic.
do is
Take out a sheet of paper, and I'd like you to write about yourself. And I'd like you to tell me and yourself what makes you special. Just you.
We went to opera company rehearsals from the time I can remember. I was 6 when they started the Duluth Light Opera Company. and I hid on the stairway and listened. And to do this now with my kids here is just absolutely great.
Is this the court of the exchequer? It is. Be still, my ticker.
As people that are dealing with this stuff pretty much daily, we think this would be a good ordinance for the city to do. It's not that drastic, but it's one small piece of trying to get a handle on some of our illegal drug use that goes on in a city this size.
The drunken driving video camera that you'll be able to put in the car.
Right.
How many more?
Just one more. We'll have 4.
These are educational tools, or I see them as educational monies, that we can get our officers out in the streets to specifically work on those areas that can help citizens have a good life in our community.
Deer hunters, quite frankly, do not appreciate the arrogant posture and attitude of DNR administrators in St. Paul. The deer hunters paid the tab. We now want to collect. That's it.
I did that. No, I mean, I didn't do that.
For the people doing it, their benefit is, of course, getting more heart healthy, getting stronger, making sure that their blood keeps pumping through clean vessels. The winning part for the American Heart Association is the dollars that come in, both from the registration fees and the pledge amounts will go to fund heart research, as well as community programming here, CPR classes, rehabilitation classes for stroke and heart survivors.
Well, seeing that this is the second coldest day in all of recorded history here in Duluth, I thought I'd step outside and see exactly what this did to your average automotive products, not to mention 1 or 2 vegetables. So what we have here is a selection of things that I got out of my garage last night. Now, you have to remember, I think the human body, biology class a long time ago, but I think the human body is about 87% water, much the same as a tomato. Well, that went out last night. This is how our tomato sounds today. Not good. Not good. I guess this is why people shouldn't go out. That's especially bad right there. Now, some other things that probably a little more common than tomatoes outside in this weather is your good old-fashioned windshield washing fluid. I wouldn't recommend washing it today, but actually Basic Blue here did all right. A little bit of slush on the top, but for the most part it stayed liquid. And I have to admit, part of me is a little bit disappointed, but Basic Blue, have no idea what's in there, probably don't want to know. Now, something else that I know maybe a little more about is motor oil. This is my, well, we won't name the name, but it's 10W30. So I'm going to crack this open for us right now. And we're going to see what this looks like. This hasn't even been opened yet. So we'll see how it's doing here. See what it looks like coming out. So you get the picture. This is why your car doesn't want to start in the morning. There's no cap on there. This is just turned to jelly, which I guess is one of the charms of living in the Northland. One. Well, seeing that this is the second coldest day in all of
Sure. It says thinking of you, and okay. Us from Japan. Well, it's for the first year, and then it's kind of like, I'm never gonna find out who has it. At first, I thought it was my neighbor, because she's always playing jokes on me, but then I realized she doesn't go all these places, so I have no idea now. And that's the name of my dog. I don't know how I pulled him out. You must have got a whole
unreal
slug of. Didn't sleep that long, did she?
You know what she didn't? Her mother told me she's going to sleep for a long time.
So did you graduate from St. Cloud State?
No.
Did you ever figure that this would turn into this?
No, never. I mean, come, it's just a prank as I'm circling now.
This is the one with the flamingo that was taken.
The bear had a hold of the tent, was shaking his head real fast. He wanted something in the tent.